This is All India Radio. Life must go on. All India Radio, in collaboration with Vigyan-Prasar, presents science serial Life Must Go On, based on understanding and managing sustainable development. Episode number 51. Life Must Go On, an overview.
Hello, a very warm welcome to our listeners. I'm Vinita Thakur, and today here in the studio we have visitors, guests who are going to talk about one serial which took our heart. Yes, that was Life Must Go On. This one serial really impressed all of us because it dealt with matters, it dealt with serious problems, but it dealt in a very easy and a very dramatic and a very interesting manner. And I would say that this serial took our entire country by storm because that we can see from the mails that we got, the questions that we asked at the end of the program, the email ID which we gave to our listeners, it was used properly. And today, as I said, that it's the 51st episode. For the past 50 episodes, we have been taking up various topics, and all the topics dealt with problems, disasters, and managing and understanding the sustainable development. So today, it's the wind-up thing. We are talking about all that happened in the last 50 episodes. This is one interactive program where we have Sri B.K. Tyagi, and I'm sure our listeners are quite familiar with this name. He is the scientist from Vigyan-Prasar. We have Mr. Chandra Mohan. Add-on is Mr. Somnath Baidya Roy, and he's the Associate Professor, Center for Atmospheric Science, IIT Delhi. So a very warm welcome to all three of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And first and the foremost question that I'm going to throw will be definitely on Mr. B.K. Tyagi, because he has been completely absorbed and completely involved with this program. So, Mr. Tyagi, what do you say? The feedback that we got was tremendous regarding the serial. And the Hindi was equally popular, and this English serial, Life Must Go On, proved to be a very interesting one. So what do you say? What were the positive points, and what actually did hit the mind of the listeners?
In fact, the issue was quite relevant this time.
Absolutely.
Because since past few years, we have seen there is you can say, competition between the environment and the development. So it was like how we see the development only in terms of its economic aspect, or we have to see its social and environmental aspect as
Correct.
well. So this was quite relevant in the sense. And the other important aspect was that India is also signatory to that Millennium Goal, which has, at the base of the core of that is the sustainable development, in which the issue like energy, water, and natural resource management, and the sustainability of big cities and town, etc. These were the issues. And if we have to ensure the success of these programs policy, which the government of India has agreed to take up in UN, and also at the national level, they're already, like the different ministry has been already directed to take up those initiative to ensure that in that area. So sustainable development, when we see, so we thought like how we can involve the people, because as Vigyan-Prasar is a organization who is working for popularizing science or science communication. And it is very important. We are serving the national agenda of inculcating scientific temperament among the common citizen, and to ensure the success of any program policy, because we know now the science and technology is the main search, or you can say the main engine of economic development. And if we don't understand that science, which are going into that developmental planning and in the developmental process, so without that success we cannot ensure. So to involve, to engage the people into the whole process of sustainable development, the serial was conceptualized. I think our head, the director Vigyan-Prasar, Chandra Mohan ji, is sitting just next to me, and he was the torchbearer in guiding and giving us, his all guidance and the free hand in conceptualizing the program.
When did the entire thing start? When did you conceive this idea that if you have a serial which has such a serious motive with easy treatment. So when did it really start? What made you think like it's going to click?
Radio programs are one of the ongoing program of Vigyan-Prasar, but
Okay.
this program was slightly bigger in its dimension because this whole program is produced in 19 languages and
Okay.
broadcast more than 119, I think, AR station across the country.
Okay.
So you can imagine. So we started in 2016
Okay.
and a brainstorming involving the subject experts, the writers, and the All India radio program producers and
Yeah.
the other local stations. And we had a very intense brainstorming in terms of conceptualizing.
Quite natural.
And because the subject was hardcore, but our audience was common
Yeah.
population. So
To bridge the gap.
Yes. And idea was like we should talk entire science in such a way that nobody should feel that this is a science program. So
It
that's
should
why
be sugar coated.
yeah. So even that's why when we are deciding the title, we thought it should not be giving a direct, reference to the science and technology.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
say in Hindi, "Chalti rahe zindagi,"
Zindagi. Yeah.
and in English it was
Life must go on.
which has nowhere say like it is a science program. But if we see the entire segment, it was segmented into 5 areas, which has like first was introductory, when what is like sustainable development, and then how we can ensure the sustainability.
Okay.
And then the second was ensuring sustainability in energy, because still we are using carbon based energy. So how we can slowly that can be phased out. So how we can ensure that sustainability. And then one aspect was universal access to potable water, because still it is a natural resource, but we see the condition is of this natural resource is being depleted. So how we can ensure that. And then the natural resource management, which include the biodiversity and how we can promote the ecotourism, etc., so that people can understand the biodiversity, and at the same time they are understanding that concept of sustainability. And then one aspect was on, now the majority of world population is shifting towards the cities. So how we ensure the sustainability in cities,
Okay.
how the supply will come, what is their energy requirement, and the one biggest important aspect was the garbage disposal. Do we have that mechanism? We have a big city, but do we have a proper scientific management or a method to deal with that garbage which will be produced? So these all issues were open into this 52 episode radio serial. Life must go on, otherwise situation is becoming like this, that there is a now threat to the very existence of life itself on the planet Earth.
That's so very
So,
true. Yeah.
This was the idea. And the other aspect was ensuring the people's participation. Otherwise, if they will not understand the issue, they will not involve, they will not cooperate, they will not think that part and parcel of those planning processes, I think we cannot ensure the success of those initiative which the government is taking. So the whole idea was like,
Oh, that's very interesting. And I'm sure our listeners too will definitely understand this. And since they have given so much of love to this serial. Listeners, we have Mr. Chandra Mohanji with us. And as you said that he has been the torchbearer. So, sir, what do you think? This has been a huge success.
Yes.
And what were the major reasons that actually clicked with the listeners? Because listeners generally prefer things in a very, sugar-coated and in a lighter way. And I'm sure because this program had the content, which was not so easy to digest.
Yes.
But somehow it got clicked also. And as there's such a heavy response from the listeners, goes on to show that it has been a very popular one. So what do you think? What could be the other reasons as well?
See, first and foremost, I must thank all the listeners. They have been they have
participating.
been actually our torchbearers. Because had they not responded, we wouldn't have been able to come up with the newer programs. And as this program was progressing, we realized that we have hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
We have been able to catch the imagination of the people. So our core focus was on making the programs interesting, informative, imaginative, and innovative. These 4 I's were the 4 pillars of our building this serial. And I am very grateful to my dear colleague and very old dear friend B.K. Tyagi that he was able to rope in the experts who spoke common man's language.
The most important thing.
That was the most important thing.
Yeah.
We were able to actually connect to the person on the last mile. They were people who were fishermen, illiterate, and whose day-to-day existence was completely dependent on that day. That particular day was more important. Still, that person was responding to our program, and to a child in the remote Himalayas who was also able to connect with the reality that we were able to bring, the importance that we were able to bring, and the impact that we were able to rope in from all our experts. The programs were in very easy to understand language. The mannerism of our experts and of the way All India Radio conducted it through all the 120 odd stations was it made the program so lively that we now are feeling stronger, and we feel that based on whatever we have learnt, our lessons that we have learnt from Life Must Go On, now we'll ensure that life actually goes on. In our other programs, that like the next program that we are conceiving is on climate change, another issue that we even more probably complex in its nature, but we will ensure that even better understanding of climate change is conveyed to our countrymen, so that they can all respond collectively and also individually to ensure that life has to go on, and they have a responsibility, and they can, even the small contribution that they will make will actually have a large impact. This is what our focus is.
How very nice. And Chandramohanji, one other thing that I feel is that because of the small anecdotes and the dramatic interpretations of the drama artists that were added in this serial, that also really mattered. Because if you do it plainly, if a serial is produced in such a way that they just go on giving sermons, nobody is going to take the preachings just like that. So the listeners really got, I think, involved in the serial. And that's why they heard each and every word.
Can I add something to
Please
that?
do.
Yeah, the very special aspect of this, the whole serial was like it was conceived as a docudrama. Like where a dramatic situation is created in the beginning itself, where with very common character, they are like come to a point where they find a connectivity with that seriously. So they never felt like they're out of box, something is being given to them. So that was the one reason why we got such a good response.
It wasn't a thrust. It was
it
something
wasn't.
that they were enjoying.
It was
as
a
well.
blend of art and science.
Oh, brilliant. So there an artist speaks more than a scientist. So you are one fine example of an artist and a scientist, the right amalgam. And we have Somnath Vaidya Roy also with us, and I'm sure he's also wanting to put in his own idea behind it.
Well, I think it was obviously very exciting time for me, and I know that Vigyan-Prasar and All India Radio did a fantastic job. Like, for a program starting in 2017 June and lasting for a year, and if you just look at the thousands of letters and all of these things that are coming in, it's very clear evidence that the program has been very successful. But I would here like to add that when I look at some of these letters, I've personally not interacted with the listeners. Most of my students are I teach at IIT Delhi, so I have very high quality students who are coming in. Many of them are from big cities, very good schools. But on the other hand, I look at the listeners and I see that there are listeners from science clubs in small villages. Then there are also astrophysics, astronomy clubs. There are radio listeners clubs. So there are students, kids who are dedicated. They are actually waiting for these shows to come on. I was very surprised in the last episode that I was on, in one of the interactive episodes. There was a question from a girl. I mean, she was, I think, in class 8. And she asked a very sophisticated question on soil salinization. And so I was thinking that when you have your listeners who are so committed and so sophisticated in their thinking, then our job becomes like so much easier. So in that sense, I think the biggest credit, of course, goes to all these people who are so committed to science and knowledge in general.
So that's one seriousness, that one sincerity that goes with their thinking. And for them, radio is everything.
That's the biggest motivator for us, actually.
And the most interesting part was the question that we put up at the end of the program. 2 questions. And those questions were also quite easy and simple.
They're also, entitled for the prize. So it was not a giving the best or the right answer, but
Mhm.
asking the right question also
Mhm.
make our listener a winner.
So I would say all of us have been contributing a lot to
Yes.
this, because if listeners were alert and listeners were so keen to listen to the program, and we have been giving them the best of what we could. So it's been a
And
great
we are
exchange.
also trying, like, on now this entire serial will be available on the YouTube
YouTube.
also. We are uploading it. So those who has missed that or any of that episode, they can like again listen to that.
Definitely, very nice idea. Mr. Dagi, one little question that keeps on coming on my mind is that in the last 50 episodes that were aired, what do you think were the major content and the major focus on this serial which was aired?
The entire episode had 5 major
Segments.
segments,
Okay.
and each segment has 5 to 7 episodes depending upon the theme or the segment. Like the first segment was on ensuring sustainability, which had where introduction was given about the concept of sustainability,
Mhm.
and then the sustainability and the industrial revolution, how the whole scenario was changed, and then when this awakening came,
Okay.
like are we going in the right direction, or there is a need to now relook at our developmental process.
Mhm.
And then the Indian ethos in practice, how those aspect of for ensuring sustainability was a part and parcel of Indian ethos and culture and
Okay.
the and issues of sustainable development, especially in Indian perspective. So
Mhm.
these were the major area which we took under first segment, and then the second segment was on ensuring sustainable energy for all, and which has the episode like fossil fuel and environment,
Mhm.
and then the enhancing energy efficiency and conservation practices. These were again like ensuring or maximizing the use of energy in efficient way, plus reducing the fossil fuel, because that is the major cause of the environmental problem which we are facing
About 3 to 4
today.
episodes were dedicated to this.
Yeah. Then we had the third segment was on universal access to potable water,
Okay.
which is this what is the safe drinking water, like what are those parameter when you say like this water is fit for drinking, and then the water resources and conservation, because why we are facing that crisis for the water, and then the rainwater harvesting. So to ensure the sustainability, I think for water, potable water, I think the rainwater harvesting is one of the methods. So we emphasize mainly on these aspects, and
Okay.
then the other was on natural resource management. This was the biggest segments, which first we dealt with the depleted state of natural resources. Why we are having those bad state of our natural resources, whether it's a water, air, soil, anything. Then the ecosystem, especially the mountain ecosystem, because of this growing tourism, we are also facing a challenge to that fragile ecosystem in especially in the Himalayan region. So how to promote that ecotourism in that area, and when as a tourist I am going there, what the do's and don't I have to follow. And the other aspect which was included in that segment was conserving biodiversity, understanding biodiversity and conserving biodiversity, and what are the conservation practices, because in our Indian system, protecting biodiversity has been part and parcel of our natural day-to-day ethos and our festival and our culture. So we have built up few episodes on that. And the fifth segment was ensuring sustainable cities and safe human settlement, because of this the growing migration pattern towards
Yeah.
the cities. The cities are becoming overburdened.
Mhm.
So how we ensure when we are planning new city, like the concept of smart city is coming through all these episodes, we have tried to link the issue of sustainability through these segments and these individual episodes.
And how it could be managed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so wherever there was a gap, we had interactive episode, and we invite the expert, and where those queries were answered by our expert directly.
So will it not be a good idea to listen to the bites?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Wonderful
I
idea.
think we can
Yes,
have the
good idea.
glimpses of the all
Previous.
episode entire effort which we have done in the previous year.
We'll just reel
Yes.
back and listen to the program
Yeah,
once
yeah,
again.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, children.
Good morning, ma'am.
You must be eager to know why you have assembled in the auditorium. Well, the suspense is over. We are privileged to have with us our former student, Miss Sumita. She has received the Green Globe Award for this year for her work on sustainable development. I hope everyone knows what sustainable development means. It means development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, here is Sumita. Children, please welcome her.
In a way, I suppose you've got the idea right. So, who has a question for me?
I have, please. My name is Rita. I am 8 years old and I have never heard of this term before. Why do we need sustainable development?
Well, Rita, you have asked a very fundamental question. Think of it this way. We get almost everything from Mother Earth, don't we?
Yes, ma'am.
Some resources like the air we breathe, we get free. But for others, we labor. Like the farmer works in his fields to grow crops. Am I right, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, whatever we get from Mother Earth, these are all resources. Resources are of two kinds, renewable and non-renewable.
And children, from the name you can understand, non-renewable resources are resources for which there is a limited supply. And if finished, these cannot be replenished by natural means.
Friends, some scientists are of the view that dinosaurs disappeared from our Earth due to change in environmental conditions. They might have failed to adapt themselves with the change in conditions.
But you know, the environmental problem and global warming are at their threshold. These days, one can find news on many channels about the severity of environment.
So this means that we, the human beings, are also on the brink of extinction? Oh God, another problem. What may happen to the human civilization due to global warming? No one can say that.
But if the problem of global warming continues in future, we have to face serious problems that we can't imagine even.
Our leaders and the public are now realizing that the problem is to stop over-exploitation of our resources.
And that is why we are now talking of sustainable development.
Exactly, Professor Ram.
This will be so much fun, right? Look at the poster.
Brilliant.
Poster is so colorful, no?
Lot of hard work has gone through.
Oh, look at that. That one is wonderful, right? See that poster. Water distribution system has been explained so nicely on that poster, right, Didi?
Absolutely. It's so simple to understand. About 70% of our body weight is water. Scientists are also of the view that life has been originated in water. That is why its importance is beyond imagination.
And Didi, look at that one. It is written that 71% of our earth is covered with water.
Yeah.
But only 3% of that can be used for drinking purpose. Most of this pure water is available on polar regions in the form of glaciers. For human consumption, very limited quantity of water is available.
And Rohit, you must note down all this useful information.
Yes, Mom.
And Wasim, you may agree with me, availability of drinking water is going to be limited day by day. On the other side, polluted water is causing serious health hazards.
Yes, Sumesh.
Good morning everybody. Good morning. Students, Kisans and environmental activists. I am Dr. Surya, Professor of Environmental Sciences. Today we are organizing the seminar on climate change and greenhouse gas emissions in collaboration with IITM, NEDCAP and Department of Forest and Environment. This seminar is intended to create awareness about climate change and to put in place some measures to face the extreme weather conditions to minimize losses and hardships. We have with us scientists and experts who will give us vital information about causes and effect of climate change. It will be a discussion and you all can participate to make it useful. So everybody should feel at ease. Thank you everyone. Now I will welcome Dr. Akash.
Thank you, Dr. Surya. I'm Dr. Akash, environmental scientist. Professor Surya has explained the purpose of this seminar. This year, we are facing heat wave and drought. These and other extreme weather conditions are pointers to climate change worldwide. I must tell you that climate change is one of the most complex problems facing mankind today. The risks emanating from climate change are indeed profound and call for urgent mitigation.
Oh, sir, I am a farmer from neighboring village. As you know, agriculture depends much on climate. This year, there is drought. Last year, there were untimely rains and floods. We lost our crops and landed in debt. What is all this, sir?
Good question, Kiranji. This is all due to climate change.
So, children, I hope you know that the United Nations has designated 2011 to 2020 as the United Nations Decade on Biodiversity. We have arranged for a trip to the local bird park, which is a short drive from here. I can see that you all are very excited. But before we get into the school buses, let me ask you a few questions, children. So question number 1 is for you, Rita.
Yes, sir.
Do you think biodiversity is the same everywhere?
No, sir. How can it be when their habitats are so different? Biodiversity is unevenly distributed. For example, some places like rainforests have very great diversity. And on the other hand, the bottoms of oceans or icy areas have less. So biodiversity varies globally and within regions.
Wonderful answer, Rita.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yes, that is true. Ocean biodiversity is 25 times lesser than terrestrial diversity. Biodiversity also increases as it moves from the poles towards the tropics. Now, I have a question. So, Ravi, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
So, can you name a few things we enjoy because of biodiversity? Apart from its sheer beauty and aesthetic appeal, that is. See, pearls that we use in jewelry come from oysters, you know. And pearls are beautiful and can be quite expensive too.
And with this, I think we come to the end of this episode. And thank you so much for being with us to this wonderful episode of Interactions. And I'm sure we'll have much more to share in the next episode as well. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You were listening to the 51st episode of the Science Serial, produced by All India Radio in collaboration with Vigyan-Prasar, Life Must Go On, an overview. The experts were Dr. Chandra Mohan, Head National Council for Science and Technology Communication, Department of Science and Technology, and Director Vigyan-Prasar. Dr. Birendra Kumar Tyagi, Scientist and Coordinator, Science Serial. Dr. Somnath Vaidya Roy, Associate Professor, Center for Atmospheric Sciences, Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. And Vinita Thakur was moderating the program. Presented by Dilip Jha, assisted by Sharad Sharma. You can send your advice by simple post. Our address is Science Serial, Life Must Go On, All India Radio, room number 615, New Broadcasting House, Sansad Marg, New Delhi, 11001. You can also write to us, and our email ID is radio@vigyanprasar.gov.in. Please do write or mail us your full name, age, and profession. If associated with Science Club, do let us know the membership of your club. If you have any query or question, do not hesitate to write to us. We will be back again with the next concluding episode of this Science Serial, Life Must Go On, same day, same time next week. Till then, goodbye.